What's poppin', Mexipino family? Before we start the podcast, we want to introduce or reintroduce, and you've probably heard about them so many times, our good sponsors, Tap Tap Send.
Tap Tap Send is a remittance app where you can send money to your family in the Philippines from the US, UK, Canada, and Europe.
Amen. And they were direct sponsors for the Mexipino Food Fest in LA and will be sponsors for the forthcoming Food Fest. Hopefully. Tap Tap Send. You know what I'm saying? If you guys use code Mexipino right now, you will get $20 that you will be able to send to your friends and family over in the Philippines.
Yes, and there's no fees. You heard me. No fees.
Zero.
So make sure you guys download the app, Tap Tap Send, use code Mexipino for $20.
Now let's get into the podcast. Kamusta na kayo?
Hola, hola, everyone.
What's up, everybody? My name is Nico Blitz.
And I'm Jackie Ramirez.
And this is the Mexipino podcast. We are in here post Mexipino Food Fest Los Angeles, everybody. Yes. So, first of all, we want to say thank you to everybody who pulled up to the Mexipino Food Fest because that thing was packed.
Yeah, 1,700 people showed up that day. Initially, we had like 500 in mind. And that nearly tripled. Yeah, pretty much tripled.
It definitely tripled.
Or doubled.
No, it tripled. It tripled because like initially when we were looking on our Eventbrite, there was around like 500 people who purchased on Eventbrite. So we were like, okay, cool. We're going to, hopefully it just doubles at this point. But then literally it was a nonstop line from the second we opened up from 10 o'clock. Literally there was a line as soon as it started and it just kept on going. We thought people were going to get breaks. People definitely did not get breaks.
No.
Me and Jackie didn't get a break. SoCal Filipinos did not get a break. Tap Tap Send didn't even get a break because everybody was taking photos like at the front with the Tap Tap Send banner. But, you know, shouts out to everybody who helped out and shouts out to you if you pulled up. If you weren't able to pull up, like, why didn't you? I'm just playing. I'm kidding.
But yeah, no, our volunteers from SoCal Filipinos, they are incredible. Literally, our day would have not been successful without them. My cousin who helped out in the front, she literally made our day so much easier. But yeah, everything went great for us for the whole event. It was a huge success, and so many people were asking when the next one was. And now we're working on a lot more. We're working on a San Diego, a Seattle. We're going back to the Bay, and we're coming back to LA. So just stay tuned. Anything about Food Fest related, you can find at Mexipino Food Fest on Instagram.
Yeah, and it was really cool because, you know, I ended up buying a lot of things from our vendors, right? I think I bought one of those blue pins where, like, basically it's like a cookie jar. But then every Danish. Filipino, the Danish cookie jar. But then essentially every Filipino ends up using it as like something to hold like their sewing kits or like money or anything of that sort.
No, literally, like my mom still has the Danish cookie tin that she got from, I don't know, probably 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And all the sewing kit stuff is in there. Mexicans do the exact same thing. It's hilarious.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a staple for both of our cultures then because honestly, I've seen that for like the entirety of my life.
I've seen more sewing kits in those Danish cookie jar tins than I have actual cookies in my life.
Yeah, I've actually never seen cookies in those jars. Like, I've only seen money in those jars.
I could only remember like twice in my life where I've actually seen cookies in those tins. So,
yeah.
But yeah, the pin is really dope and you can like actually open it and see the sewing kit in there.
And that vendor was actually Shop Para Sayo, which basically translates to shop for you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and you know, I was really messing with them. Matter of fact, they sold out of those pins day of.
Oh,
Can you believe that? Yeah, they sold out of those pins. I think you could only get them online now, but they were killing it. Every single one of our vendors were killing it. Yeah. I even bought something from La Mexicana Imports because I guess they imported like actual hats from Mexico.
Everything actually from their vendor booth and from their small business is imported from Mexico. Oh. I was talking to them and one of the business owners, if not like I think the sole business owner, I believe that her family is from Guadalajara.
Oh, that's where your family's from.
Yeah, so we started talking about that and they had gone to Guadalajara. They were asking when I was going to take you, and we're going in July. So it was really cool to get to know each and every single one of our vendors.
Yeah.
Because we really wanted to take the time to get to know them and, you know, what their small business is about. And yeah, they were all so great. Some of them gifted us some stuff, and we really, really appreciate it. You guys definitely did not have to do that. But we're happy that all of our vendors had a successful day.
Yeah. Shout out to Ube Club, too. They gifted me with this Jeepney shirt.
That's really cool.
I appreciate that, man.
Low key, they gave it to me, but it's a size large. So now Nico and I are sharing the shirt. But
sharing the shirt?
Yes, because...
This is my shirt now?
No.
Don't y'all hate that? Y'all know when you have like a girlfriend and then it's like your shirts are missing and then next thing you know, it shows up like 4 weeks later in her luggage or something like that. It's like, I've been looking for this shirt for a month.
That's what happened when I moved in. Like, you found sweaters of yours that you've been looking for.
Yeah, sweaters that I didn't even realize I still had.
Yeah, and I just took them.
I'm like, dude, like I need my shirts, I need my hoodies back.
It's because now I love baggy clothes. I like wearing baggy clothes because it's more comfortable, and like your shirts are the perfect like bagginess for me, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I just take your shirts, but that shirt technically is like mine. But I let you wear it because it's a size large. Okay,
well, I think we might need Ube Club on this podcast to figure out whose shirt this exactly is.
I mean, it was given to me, but I gave it to you because it was a size large, so it's technically both of our shirts.
Fine. We'll take it. But, you know, there is something that I do wish that we had at the food fest that we didn't have.
Yeah, it was actually cactus leather.
Yeah, which is insane. I didn't realize that existed.
Yeah, so there's this company called Deserto. It's made by two guys. Let me get their names real quick. Adrian and Marte. That's their names. Adrian and Marte. And they started making vegan leather off of cactus, off of nopal. Okay. And so it took them like 2 years to really, you know, find the process of how to make a plant into leather, because they found out that the second, you know, biggest, what's the word I'm looking for? The second biggest, like...
leather production?
No, the second biggest, like, I guess, pollution was the fashion industry and leather.
The fashion industry? Oh, I guess that makes sense.
Making things and, you know, producing waste was the fashion industry.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense because every year there's a whole bunch of clothing that's given to like impoverished countries because only one team makes it all the way through the NBA finals.
Oh my God.
You know what I'm saying?
No, you actually really lost me, by the way.
No, because what happens is that in the NBA finals, you have two teams battling it out, and both teams have already pre-printed a whole bunch of like 2023 champions for the NBA finals. One team has to get rid of all those shirts.
Okay,
then what ends up happening is that all those shirts get rid of, you know, they get rid to impoverished countries.
We're not talking about the NBA right now. Anyway.
No, but I'm just saying, okay, I'm adding to the pollution fact that you're talking about.
Okay, thank you for that. Anyway, these two guys, they created, a lot of people were like kind of questioning, like, oh, you know, they're killing the plants, you know, still like but they actually have gone through a process where they only cut the leaves of mature plants that like aren't going to be used. So they make sure that, you know, like whether the plant isn't, you know, viable enough to be produced for something else, then they'll use that plant to make leather.
Got you.
So they're also being really cautious of the plants that they use, which is really cool. And because they created vegan leather, they're saving over 1 billion animals.
That's what, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so just to reiterate, they're basically using like cacti that are about to get diminished from this earth anyway.
Yeah,
so they're like, let's reuse it.
They turn it into like a finely like milled powder, and then I don't know like the whole process. Obviously, there's a long process of it, but then they make like bags. They make handbags. I believe I saw like shoes on their website too.
Cactus shoes.
Yeah,
huh?
So like the leather is just like, you know, way more efficient for the earth, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super dope, and like they it took them like 2 years to find this process of like creating from plant to leather.
Yeah, and then they finally got it going. So is this based out of Mexico?
So they're actually both from Mexico, which is really cool. Adrian and Marte, and yeah, like you can find them on Instagram at Deserto which is really dope. It's really dope.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I like it for the fact that like they are, not using animal resources to create things for us to wear. B, it's cacti that are already about to be diminished off of this earth. So let's kind of like, I guess, upcycle it in a way, Yeah. Shout out to El Raleigh. They're upcycling dead cacti.
Yeah, that definitely was not like planned, like,
No, that wasn't planned. It just it sparked in my head,
Yeah, but it's really cool. I mean, I was reading some of their stuff on like their website, and I honestly really would like to buy a bag from them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have like a black one, a green one. I want to see if those shoes are up for sale.
Okay.
But yeah. Deserto. Wish we could have you guys as a vendor for this past food fest, but maybe for the next one.
Yeah, and hopefully on the next podcast too.
Oh yeah.
But like number 3, why I really like them is because they also put you in a position to be creative, right? Especially as like a Mexican American, Filipino American, what have you. Like now you see that the possibilities to do anything that you like to do is completely endless. Like that's one of the most random things on earth that I could think of. Like they thought of making leather out of cactus and made a business out of it. There's like literally no excuse to, just doing something that you love to do.
Yeah, it's like a huge like sustainability.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. And they actually like showcased successfully like their product in a Milan, Italy show, like fashion show in 2019. So that was really cool. So
they basically went back to the countries that damn near took over their country.
Oh my gosh.
Just to be like, flex on them. Like, hey, we know y'all almost took over our shit, but we coming back with our shit.
I mean, I don't know if that was the sole purpose. But
no, definitely not. But the way I'm seeing it, I'm like, okay, liberation, reparation, all of that shit. Getting back to you.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
No.
Okay. Anyways, but, I think something that we do talk about on this podcast a lot is the fact that, there's a lot of toxic things that go on within our families. One of them being the fact that, you have to find like one certain job that will give you like the fruits to survive for the rest of your life. When in reality, there's a whole bunch of things that you can do.
No, 100%. But we were like, I feel like we have like maybe 2 episodes talking about like toxic things that Mexicans do or toxic things that Filipinos do. Like, I just wonder, who do you think is more toxic, Filipino families or Mexican families?
Well, coming from my perspective, I could just never say that, like, yeah, Mexicans are more toxic than Filipinos, but Filipinos do have a lot of toxicity rooted in our culture. So I would personally say Filipinos are more toxic.
I say 100% Mexicans are way more toxic than Filipino families.
Why is that?
Well, because, like, I just feel like there's just so many things that like Mexican families can make fun of you for. They can like, they're just like all overall toxic. Like if you're a kid, if you're like a chubby kid, your nickname is gordo for the rest of your life. Like,
what does that mean?
Which means fat.
Oh, that sucks.
your nickname is literally fat for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Or like just the way that like I think that older generational like Mexican families think, they like to carry it on. They like to carry on that like toxic, masculine and energy that just keeps on going.
Hold on, let's go back to the fat part, because the fat part also exists in the Filipino culture as well. Oh. You know what I mean? So like my Ata Ashley, for example, my Ata Rachel, like I guess she was like chubby when she was a child. Mm-hmm. And so my family calls her Pachi. And I had no clue why she was called Pachi. I don't even call her Pachi because I just don't know where it came from. Turns out Pachi was like a fat actress like back in the day.
That's so messed up. That's so bad.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, that's just like one of like the minute things I think in both like Filipino and Mexican families. Like it's always, too fat, too skinny.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't eat enough. You eat too much. I just got told recently by like my dad that I gained weight. And that was like really hard to hear. That was like, that sucked. And I don't think like parents, that's the thing. I think with like Mexican families, they don't realize that they're being toxic. They're just, that's how they are, which I think in turn is just that much more worse.
Like they just speak their minds, or
they just speak their minds, or they just say shit just to say it.
Yeah.
You know, like the way that you grow up is like, oh, it's like tough love, but not really. It's just, you're just being really mean, you know?
I mean, I think it also depends on how you deliver it too. You can call somebody like you can tell somebody what you want to say, but not be too direct. I mean, then again, like I just like the direction for me personally, so I don't take anything in like a weird way.
Well, I feel like and this is like my experience with like, you know, your family being like your family being Filipino and my family being Mexican. I feel like we're toxic in different ways. You know, my family is toxic more in the sense of like the chisme. And I think that's how a lot of Mexican families are, where I think your family and a lot of Filipino families, they're very toxic in the way of just being blunt.
I would actually have to disagree.
Really?
I would really have to disagree. Because if we go back to Marites, for example, Marites will say something behind your back and also not say it to your face, because Asians are not that confrontational. So it's a lot easier to say something behind your back. Like Asians are not going to say something to your face without making it a joke.
Yeah.
You know, so if you bring it back to Filipinos, it's like if I wanted to call somebody fat, for example, I'm going to give them a nickname, but I'm not going to be like, you're fat. I'm going to be like, I'm going to give you a name like Pachi, for example.
Yeah. I also think too, like another like really huge toxic thing that like Mexican families do is stuff family down your throat. It like, and I mean that like in the sense of like, we're always so quick to be like, family is everything that you have. Family's always going to be there. Family's always going to ride and die for you. But family will be the first people to turn on you when you're down.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there's so many instances where like Mexican families, you know, turn their back on one particular person in the family because they got pregnant or because they're, you know, incarcerated or because they just did something that the family didn't agree with.
I mean, did anything happen or?
What do you mean?
Example? Like,
well, like, I mean, I've seen it in my family, you know. I've seen that some of my family members like have turned their back on other family members because of, you know, X, Y, and Z. And it sucks because like we're always telling each other like, oh, we're all we have. At the end of the day, all you're going to have is family. But family is going to be the quickest to turn on you too.
That's wild.
I think that's why like Mexican families are a lot more toxic.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, if I were to bring it back to my family, there hasn't necessarily been a situation where like we've kicked. There's one. I think my kuya, one of my kuyas, he actually chose to continue his life with a girl that my family didn't necessarily like. And in that turn, it's like, okay, you're literally either choosing us or her. It's not something that like we put upon him.
Yeah.
It's just something that he's decided like, okay, well, if I have to choose between you guys or her, I'm going to go with her. And to me, I mean, I guess that makes it like less toxic, right? Because we're giving you the choice of what you want to do with your life.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think also leading up to that, there's always a series of choices that, you know, I think our family ends up like giving you all the options and lays out like every single detail that we want to express. So at the end of the day, it comes down to the decision that you would like. Like, for instance, I have not been in a situation where it's like, hey, you got to choose like that girl that you're with, or you got to choose us.
Yeah. See, at least you guys have a choice. I think for like a lot of Latino families, and I keep on saying Mexican families because I'm Mexican, there's always a choice. You always have to make a choice because your family puts it on you. You're like, it's almost like your family like pressures and scares you into choosing what they want you to choose.
Yeah. Okay, I get that.
They pressure you, like, yeah, you have an option, but you better pick this one.
Yeah. I actually don't like that at all. I really don't.
It sucks 100%. But it's like, I mean, I know there was instances like growing up, like, and it was nothing major, but like, you know, my parents, they would like say like, okay, well, you could do this or you could do that, but know that if you do this, this is what's going to happen. You know, it's like a scare tactic almost, I think, or just like to keep you. I think that's why like a lot of like Latino families do that. They do that so they could keep you and make sure that they like in a sense have control of you.
Well, I just don't think that like either side really knows how to like communicate certain things. For instance, well, I'm not a woman, I'm not a girl, so I wouldn't personally know how this feels. But if I were to give an example, like, I think it's kind of weird that Filipino families will, especially our grandmas and what have you, like, they will have loads of like children. Like, I'm in a generation where like my dad is like one of like 7 to 9 siblings. I always lose count. My mom is only a one of one, right? But I think it's a weird situation where it's like, okay, well, if you're like one of 9 and let's just say someone had a baby when they were like 18, it's kind of like this weird scenario where like, you can't just be mad like, oh, don't get pregnant, wooty woo. Like, I think it's difficult for the older generation to actually like talk about these things without getting like frustrated or like emotional because of what they're trying to have us do. I'm all for not having kids when you're like 18 because I was fucking an idiot when I was 18. I was literally dumb. And so, you know, to have a child, at least for me, to have a child at 18, that was never something that I wanted to do. Even 21, even 25, I don't want to do that. And so I think when a parent instills like a scare tactic, it doesn't really make sense. I think when you're like a parent, especially in like a Filipino household or a Mexican household, I think that you should really sit down with your kids and have a sex talk.
Oh yeah.
Because I've never had like a sex talk. Jackie's looking at me like I've never had a sex talk either.
Yeah.
But if you have a sex talk with your kid, I'm not guaranteeing anything other than the fact that you're building a bridge with your kid and you're educating them on not only the do's and don'ts, but the good things and the dangers that come with it.
No, I feel like it's a super taboo thing to talk about in both of our cultures when it comes to like sex, when it comes to, you know, just adult things.
Yeah.
But it's like, would you rather have a conversation with your now, like, you know, teenager or your like adult kid and know that they're going to be safe, or have them experience things on their own and go through things that, you know, they're scared of on their own?
Exactly.
You know, like, I know growing up, I never talked about sex with my parents. They never talked about it with me. Literally, their sex talk was, if you get pregnant, you're out.
Yeah, see, and, you know, shouts out to Jackie's parents because I love them to death. But, you know, I think that scare tactic is very outdated, and there are better ways to express those feelings and those concerns.
Yeah, 100%. But, like, also, too, like, it sucks because, you know, growing up, especially as a Latina and female, like, you just wish that, you know, your parents will always be there for you. And for your parents to like instill a scare tactic of you because of sex, it's like, okay, like, do you not love me enough? Like, if I were to do this and I were to get pregnant, then you don't have my back on this. You know, that's what sucks. And I think like you said, it is an outdated concept to where like, oh, you know, some parents will still get mad that like their little girl, but a grown adult is on birth control. But it's like they're being safe, but also you didn't tell them.
Yeah.
You never educated your kids, you know?
But I think it also comes from the lack of education that I'm not directing anything towards Jackie's parents, by the way, but you know, like I think it's the lack of education that like our parents or like the previous generations have had with, you know, all these things. Birth control might have just started when they were, you know, initially fornicating, for example.
Yeah.
And, you know, whether it be like condoms and like everything that we have going on right now, like these things were not as, like these resources weren't as available as they are now. So I think to kind of play devil's advocate too, if you are currently a parent who is probably between like their 40s through their 60s right now, I also get an understanding of like, okay, well, what exactly is birth control, or what exactly like can you do to like truly prevent like, you know, early teen pregnancies and whatnot.
Yeah,
I get it.
I do understand it. I just have like my biggest issue is that like parents will continue the cycle that was done to them. Like parents are very, very, like I think the generation before us, which is our parents, they're so quick to tell us like, you know, I had it this way and I don't want that for you guys and I want you to be better than me. And I totally get that. Mm-hmm. I think I can confidently say respectfully, I'm in a much better position than my parents were at my age.
Yeah, I mean,
you know, and I mean that with like the utmost respect. Yeah. But at the same time, for them to instill a scare tactic of like, you know, the ways that their parents did, of like, oh, choose this or that. You know, choose them or family, but you better choose family. Or if you get pregnant at this age or younger or whatever, you're kicked out. It's like, you've told me so many times that how hurt you were because this was done to you. Why would you even think about doing it to your own?
Yeah, I get that. I think at the same time too, since you and I and everyone listening to this podcast are also aware that things like this are scare tactics, it gives us an opportunity to maneuver through what these tactics are. If we could immediately recognize that these are scare tactics, that means we also have the ability to figure out like, okay, well, how can I bounce around through these topics and kind of just like lower the toxicity that comes out of it. Yeah. That also means, you know, like not getting like frustrated, because I still believe at the end of the day, like, you know, respect your parents to the utmost degree as long as they are also respecting you. So in that case, and you also come to realize like, yeah, they are just looking out for you, right? So I do also think that it is up to our generation and the generations that come after this to realize that even though these are outdated tactics to, you know, for childhood development and whatnot, we have the ability to recognize that and act accordingly. Because at the end of the day, it's not just like our parents need to do this, our parents need to do that. Simultaneously, we need to act along with them and understand that this is their current way of thinking. We need to understand that's their way of thinking and adjust accordingly to how like we can make everything just work all together. Because you're not going to change your parents' mind and like overnight, right? Like if a new wave of like birth control just appeared on this earth, you're not just going to tell your parents and just be like, hey, I'm going to practice safe sex because this new thing is going on. It doesn't work that way. It's about easing everybody into this conversation and getting a mutual understanding that like through everything that I've educated myself on and the little experiences that I've had as like a premature teen or like a teenager or what have you, I've at least come to realize like what you, my parents, are saying. So please hear out what I'm saying because I've done my full-fledged research. Mexipino family, we just want to stop the podcast momentarily to talk to you about our sponsors, Tap Tap Send.
Tap Tap Send is your remittance best friend. You download the app right now and you can send money to your family in the Philippines from the US, UK, Europe, and Canada for zero fees, no fees at all.
Again, that is zero fees, Zero. And if you use code Mexipino, you will be able to send $20 US dollars to your friends and family over in the Philippines. That's like, I don't know, over 1,000 freaking pesos. It's insane.
So make sure you guys download the Tap Tap Send app right now. Use code Mexipino. I think the world and a lot of Latino and Asian families would be in much better positions if that was the case, if parents wanted to listen.
Yeah. I think based off what we're both talking about, right? I think like the Latino families, based off what you're saying, is very on like maybe attack mode.
Yeah.
And then I feel like the Asian families are very much on like the defense mode. You know what I mean? Like, like Asian families don't like the confrontation. But when the Latino families or the Mexican families in this particular example will just be like super upfront to where it's like you're kind of missing all the context to what you're trying to say.
Yeah, I get you. I mean, like, it's just a give and take for everything.
Yeah.
I think. But yeah, I mean, I think I've told you like several times before that like I've been so scared of like my parents, not because they're like mean people, they're not, but like just growing up with the way that I grew up. I'm 24 years old. I'm going to be 25 this year. I don't know when I'm going to have a kid, when we're going to have a kid, but I am terrified. I could be 30 years old and I'll be terrified to tell my parents. Like, and I don't know if I've told you that, but I know I've told like other people, like, I'm scared to like tell you, one, because that's just like, you know, scary. Two, I'm terrified to tell my parents, like, yeah, you know, when it does happen, like, hey, we're pregnant, you know, because then I'm in my head, it's like, oh my God, like they're going to get mad. My parents are going to know I had sex. My parents are going to like, how are they going to react? Like, are they going to be okay with this? Are they going to like, you know, support it? Like, are they going to still talk to me? Like that's what I think, you know, the toxic mindset that a lot of Latinos family don't realize, the older generations, that because they're doing this to their kids when they were younger, it's setting up, you know, that secrecy for later on and for like the rest of their lives. Yeah. I think, and I've said it before, strict parents make the sneakiest kids. And I stand by that. I mean, I did things that my parents still don't know about, or if they do know, it's because I told them years later. Yeah. You know?
I get you. I do want to say though, and I wish my sister was here to kind of like vouch for it, but I remember when my sister, she called me. I was high as hell, first and foremost. I was high as hell, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you that. And I had just got to this place where I was going to do like a restaurant gig to DJ. I get a call from my sister, and I could kind of tell she had some hesitation in her voice and kind of like a little bit of sobbing too, right? So I was genuinely like, hey, whoa, like, what's up? Like, are you good? And at that point, she broke the news to me that she was pregnant. And I said, well, first off, like, congrats. Like how do you feel? Like, do you want to keep the baby? Long story short, baby Bria is here now. She's like, yes, I want to keep the baby. So I was like, congratulations. Like, that's what you want to do. I'm happy for you. And, you know, I just had to confirm if it was with Jason or not. So shout out to Jason too. But, you know, like, she also expressed her concern to me, like, hey, I just don't know how like to tell mom and dad about this as well.
Wait, so Sabrina told you before she even told your parents?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, she told me before she told my parents.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and then she, you know, I basically told her like, hey, look, like, I think you're in a much better position to like actually say something when it comes to this pregnancy, right? And I'll give a couple reasons. A, she's with somebody who she like truly loves, so shouts out to Jason. B, she was going to school at that time, you know, to become like a nurse and whatnot. So she was already on her way to like set up success for not only herself and for Jason, but also for a child. And C, frankly, she's older and she has a lot more experience under her belt. And by experience, I mean like life experience, right? And so and I'm not speaking for all parents in Mexican or Filipino households, but I think that once you've reached like a certain level of like experiences and you've built enough confidence that your kid can do this, then all of those questions that you've specifically had, babe, like, oh, well, I think I'd be scared to like tell my parents even if I'm 30, or I feel like I'm scared if da-da-da, whoopty-whoop. I can somewhat vouch and say that parents will be a lot more understanding of these situations as long as they have an understanding of A, what you're doing in life, B, your life experiences, and C, who you're with. I think if all three of those things are checked off, if you're another woman in this situation who is having an issue of like not wanting to tell their parents if they're pregnant or not, I can at least say like there may be a lot less backlash than you think.
Wow, you're such a like dad.
What? I'm just saying. What?
You like talk like such a parent. It's crazy.
Is it a parent?
What? Oh my god. It took me a second to realize the joke. You talk like such a parent.
Oh my
though.
god.
You do. It's so annoying.
Why is it so annoying? It just all makes sense to me.
Because like sometimes like I be wanting to just like tell you shit, and then you come from like a logical standpoint where I'm just like, can you shut up and just agree with me?
So
like,
what you're saying is that I make sense.
No, not all the time.
No, but right now in this particular thing, I'm making sense.
Yeah, in this particular sense, yes. But like sometimes I just wish you would agree with me.
No, I am agreeing with you, but I'm also giving everything from a logical standpoint. And again, it comes down to a lot of the life experiences that have either happened to me or the people who are around me. So, it's I'm pulling from a lot of like life experiences that can make me understand like, well, I understand why everything is happening, why parents would feel a certain way, why preteen women would feel a certain way, and why you feel a certain way if you feel scared to like talk to your parents about like, hey, I'm pregnant. She's not, by the way, just FYI. But wow. I get it.
Nico's so old.
What the fuck?
Because you're like, I have all these life experiences and yada yada yada.
I've been through a lot. You see these eye bags? They say Asian don't raise it.
Nico turns 30 one time, and then all of a sudden, it's like, yes, I get this, but you have to understand this point of view. Da 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 da.
All I'm saying is
I like 29-year-old Nico.
I love my 30s. I love like people,
you've been in your 30s for literally April 3 months.
Yeah, but I love it. Like I've entered like this new phase of like understanding life.
What was that thing you said the other day? Nico was like kind of sad, and he said that he didn't want to tell me. He didn't want to tell me when he turned
30. So yo, when I turned 30 years old, one of my first thoughts was like, damn, I'm never going to make this 30 under 30 list anymore.
On Forbes or anything.
Yeah.
And he's all like, I never told you because I was like low-key sad. I was just like, that's so funny. Like, I was like, wow. And then he's just like, maybe I could do 40 under 40.
Yes. And if 40 under 40 doesn't hit, I'm definitely going to hit 50 under 50.
Yes. It'll happen. Yeah. That's just hilarious, though.
But, we talked about the toxicity that goes on, like, within our families ourselves. But there's a huge topic going out right now that talks about the toxicity between, like, Filipino Americans and Filipinos from the Philippines. Jackie was actually the first person to put me up on this information.
Yeah, so shout out to one of our listeners, our Mexipino family, J.R. Medrano.
J.R. Medrano!
He actually sent this to us. It was a TikTok about some guy from the Philippines who was reacting to a Filipino American girl who wore a Filipino flag sash to her graduation.
Yes.
And I guess she had worn the sash backwards, so the colors were on the wrong side or something.
Yes. And
turns out though that like on the camera, since it was inverted, it looked like she was wearing it on the wrong side.
So she technically was not.
But also this guy took the time out of his day to make a like 3-minute video about everything that was wrong about it.
Yes. And so a couple things that he stated that was actually wrong about it, right? For people who don't know, when the Filipino flag is turned upside down, aka you see the red on top, that technically means that there is a war going on in the Philippines. Yeah. So
it's a symbol of war.
It's a symbol of war. So, you know, I guess the way, again, that Jackie mentioned where the photo was taken, it looked like the red part of the sash was on the top. So this guy was going in about, first of all, she's wearing the flag in a way in which it symbolizes war. And 2, it is a discredit to the country because you should not be wearing the flag in any way whatsoever on your body.
That it is illegal to wear, you know, the flag in any type of like clothing, accessory, yada yada yada. And I think that's actually a thing here in America too.
Yes.
And I believe it's also a thing in Mexico. I think it's just a thing everywhere for like flags.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but don't quote me on that. But I know that a lot of countries, you know, do that you can't wear the flag in certain ways. And I think that's just so stupid.
Amen. I think the exact same thing.
I think it's just like really stupid. And in that case, like, and I'm speaking for like a lot of, you know, it's graduation season. A lot of people are proud of their roots, where they come from, where their family come from, how they can represent their family. And a lot of people will wear the flag from wherever their family's from and just put it over them.
Yeah. Well, you gotta come to realize that we live in the United States of America, right? And at some point, it gets difficult to figure out where everybody is from. I'm 1,000% certain that there are times where someone might look at Jackie and be like, I don't know if she's Mexican, I don't know if she's Puerto Rican, I don't know if she's blah, 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 blah. There's definitely been times where people have come up to me and they're like, hey, are you Filipino? Are you Mexican? Are you Chinese? Like, you know, I've gotten that so much throughout my life. So now, again, I'm in a position where I like really love my culture and I'm really owning it. So you got to think about the athletes in the NBA, MLB, boxing, everything. If you are trying to represent your people and your culture, I would love the fact that you wear your freaking flag on you. I would love that.
100%. Like, I mean, like, and I think it's just so stupid because, like, you know, that guy that was pretty much bashing that girl because she's a Filipino American. He's like, oh, you guys aren't like, you guys don't educate yourselves and you guys don't do this and you guys don't do that. It's like, this is them trying. And this is like, you know, us trying to get to know our cultures. I mean, yes, I may not have been born in Mexico, but I am so proud to be of Mexican heritage.
Yeah.
And I will learn things, you know, I learn things every day.
Yeah.
I learn things about where my mom's from, where my dad's from. My dad was born here in the US and I'm second generation. However, people have no idea how much I want to go to where my paternal grandmother's from. I want to go see what her town is like, you know? And is it the most glamorous? Probably not.
Yeah.
But I want to educate myself so I don't talk like I'm an airhead when I do talk about things.
And you know, educating yourself and also being the educator is something that a lot of people don't realize they have the power to do. Like, if I was like that guy who, you know, responded in the video, right? I would take this as an opportunity to educate somebody in a very kind and polite manner. And that's the thing. Because, go ahead.
And that's the thing. Like, we're so quick and I feel like it's a lot of people that are from where we're actually from that are just so quick to be like, no, you can't do this. No, you can't do that. It's like, well, maybe if you taught us, if you told us, then maybe we do it in a more respectful way for you.
Yes. And additionally, I know what people say to rebuttal this. Oh, well, it's not up to me. It's up to you to like figure out da-da-da, woo-ti-boo. But no, it is literally a two-way street for education. There's always a teacher and there's always someone to be taught. Simultaneously, we are all teachers and we are all also students in this game of life. And what you're saying works in two different ways, right? One, if this person took the time to actually just sit down and be like, even message the girl, just be like, hey, like, I don't want to put you on blast, but just FYI, like, if you didn't know these certain things, I just wanted to give you the information. Okay, cool. But two, this is also another issue that one of my friends from Warner Music Philippines actually like told me about. And I could actually understand why people in the Philippines would be upset about this, right? Because me as like a DJ, someone in the music industry, if I want the Philippines to support what I'm doing, it is my duty and obligation to go back to the Philippines, soak in and learn about the culture, and either bring something back to them or also take what I learn and educate the people over here about it.
Yeah.
We don't, granted, it takes a lot to get to the Philippines. It takes a lot to go to like Guadalajara, Mexico. It takes a lot of fucking money. I 1,000% understand that. But we need to take the time, the Filipino Americans, we need to take the time to go back to the Philippines and educate ourselves on these things so that we also, in turn, don't make these mistakes.
Yeah. No, and like you were saying, like a lot of, people are going to be like, oh, it's not my job to do this. It's not my job to do that. It's not my job to make sure you understand this. Is it your job to gatekeep a flag? Is it your job?
Amen.
Is it your job to gatekeep a whole entire culture? Like,
Amen.
It's not. This is for everybody. It's for everybody who is of that heritage.
Amen.
Who is of that culture. Amen. I'll be damned if someone says, you're not Mexican enough.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Screw you. Yeah. I am Mexican enough. I'm Mexican enough for me. I'm Mexican enough for you.
Yeah.
I'm Mexican enough for my parents, for my grandmothers, for my grandparents. Like, everybody. I'm Mexican enough for me, and that's what counts.
And if you want to go even deeper on this, you also got to come to realize Spain did infiltrate both our countries. They infiltrated the Philippines and they infiltrated Mexico. So guess what? Our culture is also borrowed from another culture. So even 100% of whatever we think Mexican culture is, of whatever we think Filipino culture is, 100% of that doesn't even exist because even a part of it is from Spain.
Yeah, I just like, it's so upsetting. Like, seeing that girl get attacked by that guy. I was just kind of like, excuse my language, like, you're a dick.
Yeah.
A lot of people from Mexico, they'll look at you if you go over and be like, oh, well, you're American. You're a Mexican American. I'm like, well, I'm here to fucking learn.
Exactly.
I'm here to experience life. It's not like I'm over here trying to like colonize you. I'm not over here making I'm opening a American restaurant,
Yeah.
I'm over here supporting you guys. I'm over here trying to support my family. So I just think it's just like, we all, like Nico said, we all have to be the educators and students
at
to
the
each
same
other.
time.
To each other at the same time.
Yes. I want to bring up one tweet that I found super great. Shouts out to my friend Ruby Ibarra. She is a Filipino American, matter of fact, Filipina American rapper. Let me just say that. But she said, Filipino Americans are Filipinos. Philams, just like anybody else from other communities, each have varying relationships with the PH, culture, languages, politics, etc. but it doesn't make us any less part of the global Filipino community. Global Filipino community. Mm-hmm. The nuances in our experiences are valid. There's no better way to have packaged this entire podcast segment than that.
Yeah. Shout out to Ruby Ibarra.
Yeah.
I still have to meet Ruby.
Yeah, I love Ruby. You know what I mean? Shouts out to Ruby because she does great things for the community. She was actually one of the first people who made me really proud to be Filipino.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
that's awesome.
And so, I had the chance to have Ruby on like one of my previous podcasts. We definitely need her here. And man, Ruby, good shit. That's all I gotta say. Good shit, Ruby. But yeah.
I think that was a good breakdown of all that.
Exactly.
I'm really happy.
Just be kind to everybody, educate everybody, but also be willing to learn about everything that is going on in this world. Shouts out once again to Jared Medrano for hitting us with that suggestion. He literally just DM'd us, and here we are now, ladies and gents.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna have a couple podcasts where it's just me and Jackie. Honestly, we miss just talking to you personally. I know you guys have loved each and every one of our guests, but we want to speak to you about more topics like this. And moving forward, if you guys have anything that you want us to talk about, feel free to message at Mexipino Podcast. By the way, make sure you follow the new Instagram too, Mexipino Shop, because we will be selling all our merchandise over there.
Yes, we're going to be announcing some merch soon, some apparel. So now we have 3 Instagram accounts. We want you guys to follow at Mexipino Podcast, at Mexipino Food Fest,
amen,
and at Mexipino Shop.
Amen to that. Also at Nico, aka Blitz. My name is Nico Blitz,
and I'm Jackie Ramirez. That's literally my, yeah.
I was waiting for you to say, and I'm Jackie Ramirez.
Well, and I'm Jackie Ramirez.
And this is the Mexipino Podcast. Thank you all so much. We will see you next time.
Adios.